We'd like to welcome everyone on our training video for 4-H members to help you prepare for project judging at the club level. With COVID-19, we have some changes that are happening this summer, and one of those is the cancellation of face-to-face project judging at the club level. So my name is Bruce Zimmer, and I would like to also introduce Catherine Hartline, will be your presenters for this session as we talk about project judging. So just as an overview and a timeline of what is planned, again, as I mentioned in the introduction, all special interest projects will be judged at the club level this year, and those will be judged by the club advisors. And so there will not be a countywide event on July 16th as previously planned. So face-to-face judging interviews are preferred, and we're hoping that you will be able to do this interview with your club advisor in some type of a club setting. However, if necessary, advisors can do an interview virtually with members, and this would be at the discretion with yourself talking with the club advisor. And as you do a virtual interview, there are some things to keep in mind, that the advisor would still need to be able to see the project book, and so that there's and photos or video of that project book to be able to see that the book was completed. And also, we do use the rule of 3 when we're doing interviews, and so there would need to be a third person as part of that if it would be a virtual interview. So that might be a parent, or maybe it's another advisor that would be sitting in on the virtual platform, like Zoom or whatever that might be. Number 3, if needed, OSU Extension, we can schedule judging appointments if that's needed, or if a member has a winning plan, and we're willing to help do those interviews through our office as well. So if it doesn't work out with the club advisor to do that, that of course is the first option, then we would be able to help make that interview happen for you. And fourth point here is that just a reminder, since there's not going to be county judging, there will not be makeup project judging either. And that was previously scheduled for August 3rd. So that's just a point that we want to make sure that you understand. So we're asking advisors to have all that judging done by July 31st. So we'll have the month of July to get that done, and then for the advisors to turn those grades back into us at the Extension office.
Okay, so now we're going to go over some basic judging tips, how you need to prepare for the project judging with your club advisor. So your club advisor will interview you and score you with check marks. You can earn up to 5 check marks for a superior rating. Those check marks will include a completed project completion requirements. So looking at those county guidelines, seeing what things you need to bring with you to project judging, whether that's the woodworking piece that you made, a poster displaying what you've learned. Sometimes it's a binder with those completed activities in it. So make sure that you have all of those requirements with you. We also need you to bring your complete project book. So the project book with all the activities and the pages completed. You will also need to bring your display poster, the item that you made, maybe cake decorating, maybe you bring your cake with you. And then a completed interview with your advisor. That is also one of the check marks. And the last one is that we want you to dress appropriately for an interview. So we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. So you will be based on the number of checks that you receive. So if you receive 5 checks and have completed all 5 of these bullet points, you'll have a superior rating. If you complete 3 to 4 checks, then you'll receive an excellent rating, and 1 to 2 checks is a good rating. So your advisor will have a special interest project feedback form that they're going to be able to complete for you and be able to offer you some guidance for next year, some points of good things that you completed during the interview, and then areas that we can improve upon for next year. And again, they will circle those ratings down below at the bottom of that page. So this will be something you can look forward to. these are the completed project completion guide requirements. So for 2020, and this may be found on our website at go.osu.edu/WASH-judging, and you can download this packet and look for your project to see what those requirements are. So we gave you a little example here of how to look or how to find that project. So 612 Geology Can You Dig It project would need to bring would need to complete 8 activities, including the collection display, do 2 learning experiences, 2 leadership or citizenship activities, and then the project review or the project summary that's included in that book. The letter B stands for a beginner level project, and you would need to bring the completed project book and a display showing what you learned while taking the Geology Can You Dig It project. So these are just some examples of completed project books that you might be bringing with you. Sometimes it's easy to keep those in a binder if you have extra papers that you want to share with judges, but you would need to bring whatever project book that you have with you to project judging. These are also just some examples of what other 4-H members have brought to project judging in the past. So you see, it could be as simple as a poster board, just highlighting those learning activities. It could be something you made, like on the left with the robotics display, or maybe it's that piece of woodworking. So you see the table here on the right. Whatever item you made for your project, you can bring with you, or you can just create that poster board with pictures of things that you've done during the project to highlight those learning activities. So as you think about completing your interview with your project advisor, we want you to be prepared for that. Be relaxed. You want to have fun, be enthusiastic. So as you begin your project interview, you will want to introduce yourself. So when we talk about introducing ourselves, we're going to ask that you give your name, the club that you're in, the number of years you've been in 4-H, and the project that you're taking. Then we want you to talk about your project a little bit. Talk about things that excited you about the project, or maybe your favorite activity that was listed in the project book, and discuss what you learned. You know, those learning bullet points are important as well. And then you will be expected to answer questions from your project book that the judge may have for you. And remember, smile, have fun, and be enthusiastic. So we are going to play a couple of examples for you. We are going to give you a bad interview example, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why that was bad, and then we're going to turn it around and give you a good interview example. So we'll start with the bad interview.
Hi, I'm Julia. Here's my project. I hate this thing. I don't want to wear it. It was okay project. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Drink water. That's it. Any questions?
Okay, so let's talk about some things that were not necessarily done or things that could have been improved upon. So in this example, we only know Julia's first name. She was not really dressed appropriate for an interview. She had a hat on. She was in t-shirt. She had a face mask that she wore, but she wore it incorrectly under her chin. She didn't introduce herself. She didn't give us any information about herself or her project. So, you know, she would needed to include her club name, how long she's been in 4-H, and then actually the title of the project, which was Keeping Fit. She didn't seem too enthusiastic or too excited about the project, and she didn't give us a lot of details about any of those learning experiences that she had. So let's turn around and let's look at a good interview example.
a member of the Backyard Game 4-H Club, and I've been in 4-H for 15 years. My project is on public speaking, and this doesn't stay open very well, so I'm just going to set it down on the table. Here's my book, and I'm excited to talk to you about this project today. One of my favorite parts of this project was learning about the different types of public speaking. Are there questions that you have for me?
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about this video. So in this good interview example, Tyler gave us his full name. He gave us the club that he was in, and how long he had been in 4-H. He also let us know what the name of his project was. And you notice that he did have a little bit of trouble having that poster board stand up like he wanted. So he went ahead and laid it on the table, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to improvise during those interview processes. Tyler was also dressed appropriately. He had a button-down shirt. So he was also wearing a face mask, which face masks are going to be expected at those face-to-face project interviews with your advisors. So he did have that on correctly, and he gave an example of why he was excited about the project, and then asked if there were questions. So he gave that interviewer time to be able to ask questions specifically related to his project. So this is an example of a good interview.
So both of those interview examples showed us some good and bad examples about dressing appropriately. So we want to focus just a little bit of time on talking about dressing appropriately because it is part of the scoring. So we want you to think about, as you dress, we want you to think about that you would be using the example of attending a job or college interview. So the general appearance should be neat and clean. We don't want to see t-shirts with inappropriate language or graphics. But also we want to see jeans or long pants are preferred. And also either skirt or shorts should reach at least the mid-thigh. No low-cut tops or visible undergarments, as well as hats should not be worn during the interview. So here's some examples of some appropriate dress. So that might be a button-down shirt, a polo, a dressy top, maybe it's a 4-H Club t-shirt, nice jeans, capris, or skirts. So again, dress is an important part of an interview, and we just want to be modeling that, as even though these interviews are happening at the club level, we want to be modeling that example of a good interview dress. So we're going to kind of move on and talk a little bit about handshake alternatives with social or physical distancing. We know that handshakes are out of the question. That's always one of the things that we've always been taught as part of an interview, is to shake the interviewer's hand and to during that welcome. So these are just some different options here that you might think about for a handshake alternative. Of course, we're probably going to be encouraging you to do the wave rather than the foot shake or the elbow or the tie-wye. So just the wave would be fine for an introduction. So some good hygiene practices. We've all been hearing about each of these practices, and this is not only protecting yourself, but protecting others. And so we'll talk a little bit more about each of these in a little bit more detail. So some of those good hygiene practices, first is that physical distance. We do want to try to practice that by maintaining a 6-foot distance between people, and that even needs to play out as part of the interview. So you might be at a table. So again, if you are at a table or you're sitting in chairs for that interview, just think about that 6-foot distance. So hand hygiene, that's something that you need to be practicing, washing your hands frequently, maybe also using hand sanitizer in between those washings. But again, that's something that you should think about when you're coming to the club meeting, that you've washed your hands prior, and maybe you're even bringing your own hand sanitizer as part of that to use in between. Face masks, again, are expected to be worn. And we know that sometimes when you're using a face mask, you might sound a little muffled. So you will have to speak up. That'll be important to realize. And so that is, again, it's expectation. And not only may you sound a little muffled, keep in mind you're going to be about 6 feet away from the person that's interviewing you. So you want to make sure that you can be heard. Cleaning and disinfecting, if there's surfaces that need to be cleaned, maybe even a chair afterwards or a table, that's something that the advisor may ask that you kind of help participate in that and take some ownership in cleaning up the area for the next person that's going to be interviewed. And again, here's a health assessment. We know that we shouldn't be around others if we are, we have a temperature, a fever, or cough, or shortness of breath, or have we been around others that have been exposed to the COVID virus. So that's kind of doing a health assessment and just making sure that we are healthy before we are exposing ourselves around other people as well. So there are some awards that are part of the project judging this year, just as we have the Superior, Excellent, and Good awards. That has been mentioned already. We wanted to continue that this year, even though we wouldn't be having countywide judging. So we've talked about how that will happen. But also the 4-H Advisory Committee is going to be sponsoring $6 voucher awards for every individual that completes a project. So this voucher will be able to be redeemed through the OSU Extension Office toward the purchase of a project book or applied toward a camp registration. Now we realize you already have your project books for this year and camp registration. We would also be looking at toward 2021 to apply those camp registrations. So these vouchers will be applied or given to you with your ribbons in your club packets that the advisors will receive. So you want to hold on to those vouchers so you can cash them in whenever. And you can buy project books for at any time. So even if it's just something you want to have as a reference, you can use that $6 toward a project book, or it might be a project book that you'll be using for next year. And again, I mentioned about the award ribbons. Those will be in the club packets as well. So all of this information that we've talked about today is at this website that was given earlier, and that is go.osu.edu/washjudging. So not only is this interview there, you will find a tip sheet to help with project judging, and as well as the project requirements. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the Extension Office. The office is currently open some days of the week. We're not open all of the time at this point, but you're always free to give us a call at 740-376-7431. And we will definitely get a message and give you back a call. At this point, the 4-H staff, myself and Catherine, are in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if that helps out, normally those would be our office hour days that we are here. Otherwise, we are teleworking from home, and we're free to be able to answer questions by email or again by phone. Thanks, and good luck with your project judging, and enjoy it.